Questions on the homework assignments? Okay. If there's no question on the homework assignments, we'll go on and get started. Now, a matrix. So the first thing we're talking about, a matrix is a rectangular arrangement of numbers. The dimensions of a matrix with m rows and n columns are in m by n. Rows, columns. We go down and over. Number of rows by number of columns. So we get m by n. So for this one here, we have 2 rows and 3 columns. So we would call it a 2 by 3. And that would be the dimension of A, matrix A. I'll get it back here in a bit. Any questions on this here? So m by n. M by n. So we're talking about the dimension, the size of this matrix. Rows by columns. Now we can write what we call an augmented matrix for a system of linear equations. And again, its dimensions are going to be rows by columns. And for each constant, or our variables, we write the number in front of it to represent that one. Now, this is not in your note sheets, but we'll look at this first one here. So this is the system of equations that we have. So are we looking at this here? Yes? Yes. So this is the system of equations. Now, we need it in the form of x, y, z equals a number. So x will go first, y will go second, z is third. On the left-hand side equals the constant, the number. So 5x plus 3y minus 2z equals 1. Any questions on this so far? No. Now, if we look across for this first one here, the numbers in front of the variables are 5, positive 5, positive 3, and negative 2 equals 1. So this isn't in the note sheet. But if we look at the first row of this augmented matrix, we have positive 5, positive 3, negative 2, and 1. It's the same. So we look at the next one. We have 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Negative 1 is equal to negative 1. And that's it. Now let's look at our first example of writing an augmented matrix and then stating the dimensions. So we're going to need to do 2 things. We need to write the matrix and then state the dimensions. And when we write the matrix, we need to make sure that the variables appear in the order of x, y, number. So we look at both of these here. Are both of these written in the form of the x is first, the y is next, and then the numbers on the other side? No. No, the first one is not, but we need to rewrite it. Well, since x and y, both of the variables are on the same side of the equation, we can just flip them. Almost. It would be negative 2x plus y is equal to 1, because that negative, that subtraction, is attached to that 2. So when we move it to the front, it would be minus 2x plus y equals 1. Questions on this here? Now, if we write this matrix, we start with the number in front of x first, which is negative 2. Guys, the number in front of y is 1, and it's equal to 1. So that's the first row of this augmented matrix. Now, if we look at the second equation, it is in the form of x, y equals number. So the number in front of x is 1. The number in front of y is 3. 12 is equal to. And that's the augmented matrix. Now we do need to state the dimensions. We'll use the calculator in a minute. So the dimensions for this are going to be what? Over by down. So how many rows do we have? How many columns? We got 1, 2, 3. So this matrix is a 2 by. Questions on this here? Be ready for the next one. So we're going to write an augmented matrix and then state the dimensions. Yes, we need to switch these around because it's, so we would actually have 4x plus 3y is equal to. Now the other equation is already in the correct form. So if we look at this first equation, if we're writing the numbers across the top, we would start with what? 4 and 13. Because our 4 would be for x, 3 would be for y, and 13 is what it's equal to. Now the second one, we would have 2 for x. Almost. It would be -1. We take the sign with it. And it's equal to. And the dimensions for this are?
2 by 3.
2 by 3. 2 rows, 3 columns. Questions on this here?
This is real easy.
You ready for the next one?
No. Sounds like. Oh, that's easy.
So, this time we have 3 variables. We have x, y, z. And we want to keep them in alphabetical order going from left to right. So we want x to come first, then y, and then z. Yes?
Yeah.
Are all 3 written so that the variables are on the one side and the constant terms, our numbers, are on the other?
Hold on. Question.
Yes.
Would you add a z where that 3's at? Make it a 1 z?
For the middle one?
Yeah.
So is there a z in the middle row? So what number would be in front of the z?
1. 0.
Because we could rewrite this middle one equals 3. As we can say plus 0z is equal to, guys, because anytime there's a variable missing in one of them, now it's going to be 0. Now that variable has to be in at least one of the 3 for us to add it in. Because the first two that we did, was there a z in either equation? No, so we don't need to add it in. But as soon as one of the equations has that variable, we have to add it into the other 2 as 0. Because it appears once, it's got to appear in all 3, or 2. So here we would have 0z. But if we look at the top equation, the 2z is on the other side. It's on the wrong side, yes? What can we do to move the 2z from one side to the other?
Make it negative 2z.
There's something we can do to both sides. Not subtract, but yes. Yes? Now, negative 2z plus 2z is? So they will cancel out on that side, leaving us with just 7. Now, on the other side, we have 3x minus 4y plus equals 7. So for this one here, we had to add it to both sides to get it on the right side of the equation. So now we're not looking at this one anymore. We're looking at this one. That one's taking its place. Yes. Oh no, probably 60 ounces. Well, that's goes up to 40, so about 2.
Wouldn't that be 8?
Yeah, about. The water fountain out there won't fill it all the way up. It only does about 30 ounces at a time. That way it doesn't sit there and continuously. Yeah. All right, so let's plug the numbers in for our augmented matrix. So for the first equation, we'll have 3 followed by -4. Okay. -4, and then 2, and then because we're going to use this one here because we need it in the form of x, y, z equals number. Because we had to move the 2z over to the other side. Now the next equation we have 9 for x, 3 for y, 0 for z equals, and the last one is 2, 4, -1. If there's a minus sign or a negative, it comes with it, equals 2. Questions on this here? Now, what are the dimensions? Because 3 rows, 4 columns, so it's a 3 by 4. And that's it. Questions on this here? We'll do this one here. This is the last one we'll do of writing an augmented system and stating the dimensions, and we'll move on to the next part. So if we look at these 3 equations, are all of them in the form of x, y, z? Yes. So we can go on and just write the matrix. So our first row is going to be 8,
-3,
-3,
z,
1, and 5. Then we can do the next row, which is 2, 1, 4, 2. And lastly, 7.
-3, -6.
And the dimensions.
3 by 4.
3 rows, 4 columns.
Dang it.
All right, guys, we ready for the next part? Solving systems of equation using technology. Now, many technology tools have matrix features that you can use to solve a system of linear equations. The augmented matrix in example 2, rewritten in reduced row echelon form, RREF, is shown below. Observe that the solution is XYZ is -1.4, 5.2, and 16. It will give us the XYZ for this here. And that would be our solution, as long as we have it inputted as XYZ.
So it has to stay in order.
Yep, so that we know, because again, XYZ, because for this first row, X would be 1, Y is 0, Z is 0. So it's just telling us X is equal to -1.4. For the middle one, X is 0, Y is 1, Z is 0. So it's saying Y is. And the same thing is true for Z. So that would be our solution set. So the way that we solve these using the calculator is the first is we rewrite it as an augmented matrix in the form of X, Y, Z. The second step is to enter the augmented matrix into your graphing calculator. The third step is to use the reduced row echelon form feature to rewrite the system. And then we interpret our solution. So this here is the first one we're going to look at. Yes, sir? Yeah. Thank you.
Can you explain this? Put x plus y plus z.
Now, we're going to go through doing this here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to rewrite this in a augmented matrix. We want to rewrite it as an augmented matrix. So is this already set up in the form of X, Y, Z? Yes, all 3. So we can write the augmented matrix, which would be 1, 1, 1, 2. And 2, 3, 1, 3. And the last one's going to be 1, -2, and -6. So that's going to be our augmented matrix. So at this point here, we're going to get the calculator out. Clear all this out. So you have it turned on, yes? Now the first thing we're going to do is hit second matrix. Second matrix. I mean, you should get something like this here. Now it might have stuff 3 by 4 in there, or you might not have anything. That's fine. X minus 1. Now we need to go over. Does everybody got in here? Now we're going to go over to edit. So this will let us edit matrices in the calculator. And once we get over here, we're going to hit enter. Now, it might not have the same dimensions or same size. These calculators won't show the whole thing, but it will let you access every cell, every one of the elements. Now, the matrix that we're working with right now is a 3 by 4, yes? So at the top, we'll have 3 by 4. So it should say matrix A, 3 by 4, or matrix in the letter. And what we're going to do is we're going to enter that augmented matrix into this here. So the first thing was 1, enter, 1, enter, 1, enter, 2. So we inputted the first row. Now we can continue on with the second row and third row. Because each time you hit enter, it will move it one spot over. So the next one is 2, enter.
Let's just completely restart this whole thing. Okay. On. Okay. Second.
Matrix, over to edit,
Over.
enter, 3, enter, 4.
Ah, Lord.
Yeah, if it's negative, the negative sign next to the decimal is what you would use.
Okay.
So 1, enter, 1, enter, enter, 2, enter. Now it went back to the next row. So then you keep going with that. So it'd be 2, 3, 1, 3. And if we do the last one, 1, enter, negative 1, enter, negative 2, enter, negative 6. So has everybody been able to type the whole thing in? Yes. Now, again, with the ones that y'all have, it won't show you all 4 rows and all 3 rows, all 4 columns, because it just doesn't have the screen size. So once you get the whole thing in, we're going to hit second mode, second quit, second mode, and it'll take you back to the home screen. So it's still in there. We're just needing to do the next part. Yes. So we're back to here. Yes? Okay. What we're doing next, so the first thing is we put the matrix into the calculator. Now we want to calculate this here. So we're going to go second matrix again. But this time, instead of going to edit, we're going to go to math. So we're going over 1. Now you can go up, scroll up or down, but we want to find RREF. Yes, once you have the spot next to it, so the letter B highlighted, hit enter. So where letter B is RREF, the letter next to it, you want to hit enter. So it should say RREF, and that's it. Yes? Any questions on this so far? Now we need to call up the matrix we want to apply this to. So again, we're going to go second matrix. Now if we inputted that matrix into matrix A, we'll just hit enter, because this first row is the matrices we want to actually apply a function or apply something to. So we hit enter. Hit enter again. So everybody got the same matrix here, yes? That's your solution. That is the solution for that system of equations. So the solution for this here is -1, 1, 2. And that's it. Questions on this here?
Easy. Done.
So this here is in your note sheet, kind of the walkthrough of kind of the different strings to go from one to the next. Let's look at one more. So this one's already in order, yes? So we could write this as an augmented matrix, yes? If you want to rewrite it back out on your paper or on your sheets as the augmented matrix, if you find that helpful, go for it, do that. But what would be the first row of this matrix? 2, 3, -1, 15, yes? So we can actually just type it in. If we can see that it's in the correct order, we can just see how each one would go in. We can just type it straight in. We don't necessarily have to rewrite it back out. Now for this, again, we'll go second matrix, over to edit, and we can hit enter to edit matrix A. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, it just turned the, there you go, second matrix. It just turned the brightness down. Yes, sir. Second matrix. Because y equals that one at the top is what you hit. So 3 by 4. So 2, enter, 3, enter, -1, 15. 3, enter, -9, enter, 9, enter, -12. 4, enter, -3, enter, -1, enter, 19. And once we get it typed in, what do we do next? We go second mode, second quit. We want to quit back out. Now, I'm going to show this second part in two different ways. Now, we've already inputted this once, yes? And we put the new matrix, we define it as what? Matrix A, yes? One nice thing about these calculators is if I hit up twice, and I have that highlighted, and we hit enter, it brings it back down, yes? Did we just redefine what A is? The matrix?
Holy guacamole.
So I scrolled up twice to reselect RREFA, enter. Now we can do the same thing, go second matrix, over to math, and do RREF, then go second matrix A, hit enter, and it gives us the solution as 5, 1, -2.
That's cool.
So the solution for this here is 5, 1, -2.
I'm done.
Are you clear?
Clear?
Apparently.
Well, that's what I've done. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, because you can hit clear on these, and then if you hit the up arrow, because you have to do, I mean, if you really want to clear it out, you have to do it several times. But Now, are there any questions on this here? Let's back up. And again, if there is a variable missing in one of the equations, we're going to put in what for it? 0. So if at least one of the equations has the x, the other two has to have a value for that x. So that's it. Yep, I have them right here. So you pass these three straight back.
We just have to check these out.
Yeah, if you want to take a calculator home, you just need to check one out. 3, 5. So guys, you do have time today to work on these because we still have 15 minutes. I'll give you all those too. One, two. So the homework, guys, is 3 through 8, 11, 12, 13 through 19. 3 through 8, guys. 3 through 8 is writing the augmented matrix and stating the dimensions. I would save those for last. 11 and 12, describe and correct the error. So there's an error in their work. You need to describe what it is and fix it. 13 through 19, so 13, 15, 17, and 19. Use a graphing calculator to solve the system. Since you're in here already and have the calculator right there, start with those first, finish those 4, and then work on the rest. Because if you run out of time on the rest of them, that's fine. You don't need a calculator for it. So 13, 15, 17, and 19. Those are the only 4 that you need the calculator for. And I believe you can get those 4 done in the next 14 minutes. Those are